That's weird. Okay, OBS will just reset itself sometimes. We're back. I'm not yelling at the clouds. Cool. Well, I mean, technically, I had you guys tell me, let me know that you're here hanging out. So I guess that still kind of worked. Um, I'm messing around with older versions of OBS, so my assumption is it didn't pull in my settings. Anyways, welcome to the Making Awesome podcast, season 3, episode 43, where we're going to be talking all about time management, something that I clearly struggle with from time to time because I didn't even bother to check if my mic was working in OBS, but you know what? Here we are. We're just going to run it. So those of you that thought your computer was broken and turned up your volume, I'm sorry. Yes, time management is one of those incredibly important things that as a business owner, you kind of have to have down or you're going to struggle. And as someone that doesn't really have time management down 100% or even really close to that, I can tell you it's not a lot of fun. But I know some skills that can help, that have been helping me. I think it's important because a lot of makers, especially makers, tend to be a little neurodivergent from time to time. And that means that you might kind of break some of the cardinal rules of time management. And as a business owner, it is very easy to break those rules. So if you are here hanging out live on YouTube, make sure to leave a like and get subscribed. And, put in the chat other than you can't hear me, because I know you can now. We got Mad Cat USA's here, Rob Ank 954, Guy the Jedi, Mr. Fix'em Dude himself is here, Darkening Shadow 32, Thomas Lost in Tech, Medi 79, David Katz, Mr. Gregory Pfeiffer, Jake the Goat. We got 3 Deets here and Holo Puller. We'll go with that. Hope everybody is having an awesome day. We're going to be talking all about time management. And honestly, I feel woefully underqualified for this, but I think it's very important that we do kind of mention it, right? That we go through it, that we talk about it. Because we really do need to do a better job as makers with it, right? It is very easy to look at a project that is 80% complete and say, good enough. And then it's really easy to say, ooh, new shiny, and go to the next project. Because, yeah, sometimes completing the project isn't always a lot of fun. And, well, unfortunately, that fun that goes away is often the motivation for a lot of us to do things. And when you are looking at doing it as a business, fun can't be the thing that drives you to actually get your projects done. I recognize as a content creator, we do a lot of things just for fun, right? We make videos because we want to. And while the ultimate goal is that these videos bring us money, they don't, at least not right now. And so I have to look at reprioritizing what matters. If this was going to be, or these videos would be something that was all about making us money, what would I do? I would deliberately cause printers to catch fire. We would create the Keemstar of 3D printing, right? That's what we would do. We're not gonna do that. And we would be taking every single sponsor that came across our desks, right? We would be sponsored by, gosh, Raid Shadow Legends, right? You know, you guys would see really weird sponsor reads that don't make any sense. And part of that would mean that we're running it like a pure business. And it was a talk that I had with one of my mentors who said, you're not running your channel like a pure business. That if you were running it like a pure business, you would effectively take every single monetary sponsorship that came across your desk. Oh, apparently Raid Shadow Legends is a dated reference. I'm sorry. Whatever. But it is something I said, you're right. We really don't run this 100% like a business. And Oh, Keemstar is. Okay, well, whatever. I'm going with it. But honestly, I'm totally fine with us not really running it like this. Is what I'm not fine with is the fact that my camera is Why are you slightly tilted? That's so weird. Oh, it's gonna bother the hell out of me. Sure, that's better. Gregory Piper says, wait, you mean the bamboo nightmare isn't just for views? Yeah. No, it's not. I wish. Like, it it's so funny to look at the bamboo fanboys and they're like, oh, he's just faking it. I want to be really clear. If I was faking problems, I would make much easier problems with that machine. It is so easy to do really dumb things that will hurt that machine, right? You can easily do things that will start breaking parts because they're all thin injection molded plastic. I haven't done that, and I'm not going to do that, not on purpose at least. I can't guarantee I'm not going to end up doing something stupid along the way that doesn't, potentially damage it. But yeah, no, it's not for views. Now, we have laughed a lot internally that if we put bamboo in the title of a video, it doesn't matter what is in the video. We can change a video title to just put bamboo in the title, and it just naturally does well because people are really looking for that content. We see it in Prettifix Fridays when I don't cover a bamboo failure. The views are a third of what they normally are. And I don't know if that's because people are looking for bamboo content or they're deliberately looking for me getting upset. I don't know. But yeah, bamboo is not our best performing video. Actually, there are, we just went through the top 10 because we are putting together a sponsor deck so we can get, look at monetary sponsors more often. And 8 of the 10 top 10 videos are podcasts. One of them is a bamboo video. It is my 1 month with a bamboo. And then the other one is the Prusa Slicer 2.6 video. So there you go. Those are our top 10 best performing videos in terms of views. In terms of money, I have no clue because the live streams offset it because people do donate, to the creator fund, if you will. And if you are looking to do that kind of thing, super chats are available. Of course, there's Patreon and all that in the description down below where you can come hang out with us at the $10 tier and higher. And traditionally, there are people hanging out in one of the channels on our Discord. And so Deets is over there, DK Shadow and Madcat USA are hanging out in our Discord live where you guys can like communicate with each other and talk while I'm doing my show. You can basically make fun of me. It's pretty much what everybody does. They make fun of me in there. I feel like I've created a community of people that just like making fun of me, but at least they're not mean about it. So we'll go with it. Anyways, talking about time management, one of the best things that you should not do is multitasking. And what do I do during streams? I consistently multitask. We just got a new fan who said that they came in from the video all about how to start a business, and they said the first 10 minutes was the only thing that made sense in that entire stream. The rest of it was just you talking about other stuff. And I'm like, yep, I think it's time we do a video on time management because it's something that I'm really not good with. And those of you that deal with chronic pain will recognize that there is that modifier of the chronic pain wins. I mowed half of my yard, maybe a third of my yard. Last night, it took me almost 4 hours because the mower wouldn't start. But that's a whole nother problem for another day. But I have finally figured it out. It needs a new battery. Even though the battery reads fine, it loses a cell pretty much every time you try to start it. So, yep, it was the thing. Anyways, but yeah, the grass had gotten very high. Like my waist. At least in the backyard, like where no one really sees it. Front yard was a little high, but the backyard was real bad. But that was about time management, right? I know that if I go and mow, I'm going to lose the next day. Like today, I am effectively a waste of a human because I am in so much pain. that it is hard to even sit here. So if I end this one early, I'm sorry. I am in a ton of pain. I'm trying to hide it, and I hope I'm hiding it okay. But I am in a ton of pain because sitting on a riding lawnmower for 3.5-ish hours and you still didn't finish all the mowing is not good for someone that has a bad back. Madcat says neighbor sending passive-aggressive hints again. No, just my conscience. And I still have to go back out and do all the weed eating because, of course, the mower can't get all the way to the edge. But, I rewired my lights on it, so I mowed up until 11 p.m. No, I started it. Yeah. So I mowed up until 11, and then I went in. And then it rained today, so there's no chance I'll be mowing later. But multitasking is one of those things, right? It's odd. I'm someone who really likes to multitask because, like a lot of you, I tend to hyperfixate on things. And if I sit and, hyper focus on something, there's a time dilation that occurs. I have no idea how long I've been focusing on something, but I know it's been way too long since the last time I looked up and even checked the time, right? It's like you get these blinders on and all you can see are your computer monitors. I'm like trying to put blinders on, so all I can see is my computer monitors. But all you can end up seeing is your computer monitors and the work that you're doing or whatever you're doing. But it's unfortunately not very good for singular personnel time management. We have two different schools of thought when it comes to project management, and I am so sorry, but I'm going to end up getting a lot of people upset because we're going to talk about this on a podcast. You have waterfall and you have Scrum, right? You have the waterfall method where you start one thing and you go all the way to the end, then you start the next thing and go all the way to the end, where Scrum is pretty much the professional version of ADHD, where you're working on a few different projects at a time. Or Agile, excuse me, I'm sorry. Yeah. But the two big ones, sorry, Agile is going to be the big one. I don't know the words to it. I'm not... Okay, Scrum is a version of Agile. I know Scrum because we do it in the company. We have staff that are trained on how to do it. I'm not trained on how to do it. But the idea of it is you work on multiple things, you do your job, the next person does it, and you guys kind of split up the work. That is great, unless you're a singular person. It doesn't work if you're a singular person. And I can understand the desire to say, I need to do 10,000 things at once. And it can get overwhelming as shit. And then what happens is you don't get any of it done because you don't know where to start. As someone that struggles with this, it is a huge problem, right? And I kind of have to blame the cat for my recent productivity because she got an upset tummy Friday night at some point, because when I woke up Saturday morning at 6-ish in the morning, the cat had vomited on my keyboard. So I have to leave my house by 7:15 to get to an 8 a.m. on a Saturday. Don't ask. And I had to quickly clean my keyboard. I am lucky in that I have a keyboard with replaceable keycaps and switches. So everything that had vomit on it, I pulled the switches and keycaps, cleaned them all and left it, and then I left my house, right? That was part of a necessity for productivity that had to occur because it's vomit. It's not very, sanitary and safe, and it's acidic. So, yeah. The nice thing is you end up cleaning everything with a good cleaner. You soak all the key switches in alcohol and then blow them out with compressed air, and it works perfectly. So, A+. A+. Gregory Fiber says, as a neurodivergent person myself, I can say doing one task at a time and forcing yourself to stay on that one task is most effective. Waterfall method for one person all the way around. Karen Chow said, what did those keys spell out? I think it was... Or or I can't imitate a cat vomit noise, but every cat owner knows that noise, and it will wake you up from a deep sleep. Unfortunately, I had the bamboo running that night too, and it's so loud that I can't hear anything else. So I didn't hear the cat. Normally, the cat would wake me up, making that cat noise. We all know that noise. If you own cats, you know that noise. But that was kind of what sparked my productivity for the day, because it required me to flick on the, we have to get this done right now mode, right? So you have X amount of time to get it done. You got to deal with it. Go, 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 go. And I am neurodivergent as well. I operate best under a slight amount of stress. I don't know why, and I kind of hate it, but I work really well under a slight amount of stress, like a looming deadline. Puts me into just I am the best version of myself for productivity when there is a deadline of some sort. There's always a joke with ADHD people that you should have a friend that randomly texts you every now and then saying they'll be over in an hour, and they never actually come over, because that's the only way you're ever going to clean your house. Because without that looming deadline, there is nothing there for you to do. You can live in a slightly more complicated environment because it doesn't immediately affect your day-to-day productivity. You have to get it to where it can. Prioritization is one of those big factors, huge factors, that will determine your time management skills. If you can't look at a project or a multitude of things and say, I need to do it in this order, prioritize it, period. If you can't do that, you will struggle, right? And you might say, everything is urgent. I want to be really clear with you. If everything is urgent, nothing is urgent. Period. Nothing is urgent. If you can't prioritize things and say, this is a later me problem, then you're not really ready to keep going down that path. And unfortunately, sometimes that prioritization screws future you, because past you, which is currently present you, is a jerk and prioritized the wrong things. I'm going to call out a fan, Ben. Ben often, past Ben often screws future Ben all the time. Ben is an electrician. He often deals with heavy batteries, and current/past Ben often doesn't unload them from his truck. So future Ben has to do it in the morning when future Ben is tired and is just trying to go to work. So prioritization would say, hey, just go ahead and do arm and shoulder day real quick right at the end of your shift. And then future you doesn't hate past you. And if future you hates past you all the time, you should be looking at why. There is likely a pattern. If you can determine this pattern, you can solve the problem, right? A lot of us like to solve problems. That's why we're makers. We like to solve problems. And the solution to those problems is often analyzing data. And if you don't track the data, there is no problem to fix because you can't identify the problem. So start tracking why future you hates past you, and that will help you better prioritize your tasks and making sure that you get things done when and where is necessary. Big example, me cutting my grass. I'm going to blame Mother Nature for a lot of it, but I'm also going to blame the fact that I hate going outside during the day. And I don't want to cut my grass at 6 a.m. because I am not a masochist. Okay, I want to cut it toward the end of the day. And I haven't done it in I would say my backyard is probably 2 months. And if you know Florida, you know we're not actually a sunshine state. Colorado actually gets more sunshine days a year than Florida does. So there's your weird fact of the day. It rains here pretty much every day during the summer, and yesterday was one of the few days where we had a sub 50% chance of rain. So I said, all right, I'm going to plan for this. And so I planned to get home around 6, 7 o'clock, grab my mower, and start mowing. However, the last time that I mowed, I realized that my lights weren't working. The lights are an addition that we added. It's all custom wired and everything, and will be a little future short video that we do because the switch does not fit into the hole that it needs to go into. And I printed apart. I just don't know where the file is, so I'm just going to redesign it and show you guys how to do some practical printing, because having that switch panel mounted is so much nicer than having it non-panel mounted. But idiot me didn't take a picture of how he wired it the previous time. It ended up shorting the new switch, which actually didn't kill the switch, but absolutely melted the wires to the battery. So future Grant got screwed by past Grant because past Grant did something sloppy where he didn't take pictures of something before he went and swapped wires. So I had to rewire it. I told myself I want to prioritize getting cutting done, and as soon as it gets dark, I can grab a headlamp. It was charging because it almost died. I can grab one of my headlamps. I can put it on my head, and I can do the wiring in the dark. If I take the time to do the wiring when it's bright outside, I'm going to push myself through time where I don't need my lights by fixing my lights. It was absolutely the right move. I prioritized getting more of the mowing done, and I got almost the entire front of the yard done before sunset, which occurs sometime around 8:30, 8:45-ish. Lost in Tech says, pay somebody to mow. I've gone down this route. We have 2 acres of land. I have a guy who's offered to do it for $175 to do 2 cuts a month. Not that bad, but it was pretty, like, the grass was long. And I said, all right, let me at least cut this down and see maybe if I can, kind of force myself now that I have the lights. Just start mowing around 7, 8 o'clock at night when it's not terribly hot. It's just terribly humid. And prioritize just keeping it lower, right? If I can get on that and I can start mowing faster, I might not see the damage that we have, right? The damage being my back. But yeah, 175 it's a lot of money. Without having income, which I don't have right now, it is very expensive. But the prioritization says, all right, can I utilize those 2 to 3 hours a day or every 2 weeks to do something that is productive enough to pay for it? And I don't excuse me, Jesus Christ. Allergies act up after mowing too. It's fun. I don't know if I can. I should be able to, but it's about a net profit game, not a gross profit game, right? The big thing is all about net profit. As a business, right? You as a business owner, we've talked about it before, your time is worth more than you think. And if you're going to spend that time taking 5 hours to cut your grass, if that is a therapy for you, then go and do it. My father loves cutting grass. I don't know why. I see it as a chore, but maybe it's because I only do it so often and it is a chore when I have to do it. But my dad loves mowing. It is one of his favorite things to do. He calls it lawn therapy. I think my father might be Hank Hill. I'm honestly not certain. But he loves doing it, right? And when he lived out here, there were plenty of times where he's like, hey, can I come over and cut the grass? I'm over here like, you mean I don't have to do it? Hell yes, you can come and do it. And if he lives about an hour-ish away, I think if he lived closer, he would still come up here and do it because he just absolutely loves doing it. But for him, the prioritization is he really enjoys it, and it's a way for him to disconnect. And you know what? If that's what it is, then do it. You have to also look at prioritizing yourself. I know this is hard for everybody. But you have to prioritize yourself. You have to look at it and say, what is best for me? If you've got, a bunch of stuff you have to get done, you need to look at what is the best thing, and then how can you also reward yourself through this process. You can't just kind of do stuff the way that you want and expect it to just work. It probably doesn't. You got to look at prioritizing so that you're giving yourself those small little treats, right? So, maybe you do all of your laundry and then you watch a show on Netflix. Then you clean all of your dishes. Then you watch the next episode on Netflix, right? Where you're doing these little incremental treats so it makes that work seem valuable. And that might seem very menial to begin with, but if you can start this process of, oh, I can do this once this is done, that task that seemed really, really tough, all of a sudden, you now have a goal. If there is not a goal to do something, the bulk of us aren't going to do it because there's no challenge. There's no point. So you got to look at why so that you can deal with the how. Zerno says Netflix and chill by yourself. Hey, I ain't judging what you do in your free time. You feel me? Creating a schedule is a big deal too, right? Why do you work from 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 in your day job? Why? Because there's a schedule, right? Why do you go to lunch at 11:30 every day? Because there's a schedule. Why do I book my chiropractor appointments for Friday at sometime between 9:30 and 10:30 in the morning? Why? There's a schedule. And the schedule is predictable, and predictability tells you when and where you can do things. We like predictability. Predictability is a good thing. Be predictable in your scheduling. But, some predictability or some spontaneity, is that the right term? Sure. Some unpredictability is not bad, right? But making sure that you block the time for when you need it is a big deal. And as a business owner, you might not always be able to stick to that schedule. I have literally been on conference calls at the chiropractor's office, and my chiropractor is awesome and understands it. And he will literally take my phone and he will mute my phone when he's about to adjust me so that if I make a noise, nobody else realizes it. The man is awesome. And he being a business owner himself, he owns that practice. He totally understands the plight of a small business owner. And he is absolutely great with working with people. Those are the relationships that I build. People that recognize that my life might be a little bit chaotic. I try to schedule things, but sometimes I can't. I can't tell you when one of our biggest clients is going to call me and require a meeting with me right then and there and pay me for it. But if I don't show up to another meeting that I had set, I am now being disrespectful. And while I recognize that potential client or that client was being disrespectful of my time, I also recognize that the people that I can go and meet might also understand that, things are a little bit different and they get it. That schedule, though, helps you figure out when and where you can do things. I will often block off time in my calendar for replying to emails, replying to sponsors, making phone calls, research for this. I've got 12 hours next week blocked off for work on The Politician because I need to place my orders for these really cool new components that we're trying because I can't build it without those cool new components, and I need to send out beta testing kits because we really need to get this thing done. We are going to be launching it at the East Coast Rep Rap Festival. I might not have a bunch of them, but I'm going to have at least a few with me when we are there because there are some people that I'm going to be meeting there that are going to be betas, so I'm going to be giving them their beta kits there if that's what they wanted to do. But we will have a sign up for The Politician here coming very soon, so stay tuned if you do want to get updates on the project. But if you are trying to get more updates on that project, you can join our Patreon Discord at the $10 tier and higher on Patreon, YouTube channel members, or PayPal, and you will be able to see what I am working on and where. And often, when I'm doing that kind of work, I am actually in one of our live channels in our Discord, and I'm sharing my phone calls. I'm sharing kind of all the work that I'm doing so that if people want to follow along with what product development actually looks like, they can. It's kind of cool. And I guess for those that don't know, the Politician is a product that filters and produces hot air. It's a politician. And similar to real politicians, it can be bought, but just for a lot less money. Although if you want to pay more money to buy this politician, we're okay with that too. Time blocking is part of your scheduling, right? And if that is, you're going to block time to just relax, right? Do it. I've had to start blocking off time for lunch because I won't stop. I don't eat breakfast. It's not a thing. I am looking to maybe start having some caffeine in my diet. I'm really afraid of that. But looking at like a green tea of some sort. So if you have any good teas that you like, put them in the chat. Because I am always looking for new teas. And I swear to God, the first person that says Yorkshire Tea Gold. I do already have that, though. It's okay. It's not bad. It's okay tea. It needs some help. Nick says, does it come with white boots or is that extra? I don't know what you mean. Mike from Never Let Machines Win says, you want people to sign up to evaluate the politician? Right now, no. I've got my list already. I have not contacted everybody on that list. So I just have a list of people that I would like to look at it that I think have a value, but it's basically, it's a chamber heater with a filter built into it, right? That's all that it is. And it is a relatively low hysteresis chamber heater with settable temperatures with dual safety mechanisms. So, yeah. Mike said, I thought Twitter was based on evaluating politicians. Beautiful. Beautiful. Love that. Love that. Karen says, Kirkland green tea from Costco. All right. Could look into that. So time blocking is important. You want to make sure that you're giving yourself the time that you need to get the work done. And if you're like me and you schedule time to do projects and you find yourself often running over time on those projects, give yourself more time. When I book time to work on projects, and it's normally client projects, but let's just say projects in general, I'm not answering my phone unless it's somebody that I know and I'm expecting a call from. I'm not doing email unless I am needing to email people involved in the project. I am focusing on the project 100%, or as close to 100% as I can. In fact, we have a channel in our Discord dedicated to working. It is not a place to hang out. It is where people go to work. If you're in there, you are working. And if someone wants to come in, they can ask you what you're doing, but it's not the time to have a conversation. It is the time to just hang out and do some work, right? We find that oftentimes it is good to have like an accountability buddy, someone that can kind of be there for you. And that's why we started this idea of having a channel in our Discord for working. I think it makes a lot of sense. And I recognize that a lot of solopreneurs don't have that opportunity. You can make that opportunity. There are Discord servers all over. Some of them are free, some of them are paid, where you can get involved and become part of a community and at the same time, maybe make some really great business contacts. You never know who is sitting in a server that you might be a part of. It doesn't hurt to try. The worst thing that happens is you do it for a few days, nobody else joins you, and you go on to a different server. Lather, rinse, and repeat till you find your people. It's not that hard, and I have faith that you can do it. But time blocking is part of that process to getting your scheduling down pat. You got to make sure that you get your scheduling. I am a schedule-based person. I have meetings that I book at the same times, the same places, the same days, every week, because it makes me predictable. I know that at X time, I have to be at this place or in front of my computer to do something. And that predictability means that it is a reliable thing in my day. And reliable things in my day make my day so much easier to deal with because it is something that I can count on not going sideways. Most of the time, at least. So the next one on the list is anti-multitasking. And again, I recognize that it's not great. Multitasking as ADHD is pretty much, yeah, it's a thing. You kind of just have to get stuck with it. And you got to look to weaponize it, right? I'm working on some medication that I'm trying to learn how it works for me. I'm very analytical and I'm data driven. So if I can track my productivity on or off medication, I can figure out how it affects me and why, right? These are all easily, trackable items. I can determine when that medicine wears off. If I need a larger dose or maybe it doesn't wear off fast enough, I need a lower dose. There is a lot of value in keeping track of stuff in your life. You gotta make sure. Also, Mad Cat, all the tea recommendations, can you put them in the Making Awesome podcast channel in the Discord? Because I'm gonna forget them. Thanks. Or somebody that's in our Discord, can you please copy the tea suggestions into the channel for me? But there are some great tips that you can do to really look at narrowing down your multitasking, because stopping it altogether for those neurodivergent it's probably just not functionally possible, right? Your brain needs to be... If you can just narrow the focus, right? From being real big to real narrow, that can absolutely change the way that you look at work. You look at your ADHD as something that you can weaponize rather than something that holds you back. It's why we've talked a couple of times to therapists. And if I need to bring another therapist in, I will do it. Hits microphone. I can see if I can get a psychiatrist in here. I don't know very many that aren't my current psychiatrist. So that one might be tough. And I recognize that medicine is not always cheap. There are options like Mark Cuban's Cost Plus Drugs for something that isn't, regulated. But if it is regulated, GoodRx is a great solution. And neither of those companies are paying me. Damn it, they should pay me to say that. There's the business of me coming out saying, you just gave somebody free advertising and you're not getting a dime for it. Anyways. But let's look at some of those things that you can do. Visual aids is a great one, right? If you have stuff around your desk, like my desk is the same as the shelves behind me. It's a big steel metal shelving rack unit thing. I've got purchase orders over here. I've got invoices going out up here. I also have my demerit badges are up there because I like them. I keep, little fun things that, make me smile on my desk, like this Victoria patch that Amber made on her embroidery machine that is absolutely adorable. Merch coming soon. That is going to be something that we're launching here relatively soon. And if you are part of our Discord, you have been seeing that stuff. And it is so good. I am so excited for this merch when it comes out. But, I keep things that kind of make me smile a little bit. I have all my name badges are over to the side of, places that I've been and things that I've done. Because that reminds me that this is a process, right? Those visual aids are really important to me. Nose is itchy. If you have a goal, let's say your goal is, I need to do my laundry. You need to break down that goal. So what is the first thing you need to do? You need to collect all your dirty clothes together. If you're the type of person that has, whites and non-whites. You have to separate the whites so your whites don't end up looking like a different color. Then you do your laundry. I wash everything cold because hot water is expensive. And honestly, I think I get better for the, non-whites. Anyways, I'm not going into laundry tips. Why am I going into laundry tips? See, break down your goals. Get the stuff together. Get it into the laundry. When it's done, get it into the dryer. And as soon as it's done in the dryer, start folding it. Put it away. Sebastian Jackal asks, am I the victim of infinite laundry too? It's only my fault. It's only my fault. My fault. It is my fault. AZ Cowboy 1 says we want more laundry tips. Don't try to repack the bearings on your washing machine. You will not do a good job, and it will sound like your washing machine is screaming. It still works. The bearing's just really loud and noisy. So that sucks. Pre-treat soak, tell us. I love every time I get a little stain on a shirt because I just go into the laundry room and I scream. And Amber's always like, what are you doing? I said, oh, I'm shouting it. And every time, it never fails. I love it. It's a great joke, and I will continue to use it. I don't care if it's a bad joke. I love it, and it makes me laugh. And I get that look of disappointment from Amber, and that is absolutely worth it to me. So I do it. But you can use tools and apps. Apps like time trackers, reminders, that kind of thing is crazy valuable. Now, I will say that stuff can be tough. If you're like me, I am looking at my phone, it just says 99 plus for notifications. I have a lot of notifications on my phone right now. And that means I can't always focus on them. So I need something that can remind me elsewhere to do what I need to do. So I'm working on an IFTTT thing, or just some sort of better way to put notifications on my desktop to do things, right? Because if I put it on my phone just like sits on the wireless charger for some of the day because it's dropped 7% since I started this stream, and that's all because of the notifications that I'm getting. I'm getting a lot of notifications. It's Discord, it's Twitter, there's email, there's company email, there's YouTube. Yeah, just from what I can see. There's that kind of stuff. But having those tools and apps can really be valuable to helping you better manage that, right? And there is not one solution that's going to work for you. So if you're not a tool and app person, you don't have to do it, but it is something that you should look at least giving a shot. Even the Google Task system where you can just ask your phone or ask a smart device to remind you in 5 minutes to do something, because your brain will forget to do it unless you ask. Then you'll never forget about it. Don't know why that's a thing, but it's a thing. Creating the routine. Right? We talked about blocking off time as a way to create routine and schedule. Creating that routine and schedule is immensely valuable because, again, if your day is predictable, then you know what amount of time that you have to be unpredictable, right? Where things can be a little bit wishy-washy and move around. Right? Even when my days go off the rails, there are certain things that must occur. Like I know I have a meeting at 5:30 every Monday. Well, Monday is often a mail day. So I told the person that I meet with, hey, can we change our meeting from 5 to 5:30? Because I am likely pushing to get out to the post office by 5, and then I can be home by 5:30. And they're like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I said, I know, it does. It's just part of me trying to be more structured in my routines. I know I'm going to struggle to get the mail out sometimes. It's not easy. You got to work on it. Some people like going to the gym, right? Whether it's leg day, I would say back day. It's never back day for me anymore. Every day is back day. But the gym can be something that can help kind of calm the nerves, right? Even if you just go for a walk, right? Go walk around. It's not always easy, right? I live in an area where there is no sidewalk and the ground is not great. It's not flat, it's got divots in it, and the chances of me hurting myself are pretty high. On top of that, walking around means I'm stressing my spine a lot. So if you do have chronic pain, I recognize that physical activity might not be the right option. I have chronic pain. Physical activity is not always the right thing for me. And that sucks because it means I put on weight. So I have to look at better cutting weight. And the real only way to do that, if you're not being all that physical in your day, is in the kitchen. So looking at eating healthier, eating better, and eating things that are going to be productive to you, something that you can do that, while not immediately physical, can at least help you not gain a ton of weight as you deal with some level of chronic pain. Timers. The Pomodoro technique. Isn't that, I believe, I know of it, I forget. All right, Grant, you have a computer in front of you. Look it up. Pomodoro technique. There we go. Time management method based on a 25-minute stretch of focused work broken by 5-minute breaks. Longer breaks, typical 15 to 30, are taken after 4 consecutive work intervals. Each work interval is called a pomodoro, the Italian word for tomato. Plural, pomodori, should you know. Those methods are tried, true, and tested, right? 25 minutes, 5-minute break. 25 minutes, 10-minute break. That kind of thing can be crazy useful, especially if you're a hyper-focusing kind of person. Set a timer for 25 minutes, hyper-focus. When that timer rings, if you need to finish something, let it keep ringing. And then when you're done, you can shut it off. Take your break, then do it again. That kind of stuff is so valuable if you have issues paying attention. Seriously, like, try it. You don't have to use the Pomodoro technique. There are others out there. Find one that works right for you. Give it a shot. If you have ADHD, you've got your high times and your low times, right? You have your gremlin days and you have your non-gremlin days. When you're feeling those high energy times, sit down and work. Use that energy to your benefit. Unless you want to take that high energy time and clean. I know a lot of you might be like this. I am. Where if I clean, I'm in a mode where I am cleaning. Nothing else will bother me. I am cleaning. Unfortunately, that mode doesn't happen very often, especially with my back injury, because I'm always worried because a lot of my stuff is on the floor that I need to get up, and that involves bending. My knees kind of suck too, so it's like, what's worse, right? So that one is not as functional as it used to be, but weaponize those times when you are active. If you know that right after lunch, you have energy, utilize that, extend your lunch a little bit, and do dishes, clean your floor, vacuum, go take your dog out to a dog park, throw a tennis ball around, go play with your cat, go do something that is productive that will keep you at that movement, right? Go do your laundry. Hey, when was the last time you emptied your dryer? I don't want to answer that question for myself either. But that's okay. Having those schedules is so good, right? And when you have those high energy times, you might need to break your schedule a little bit, but don't waste that high energy because you're going to wish you didn't when you drop into low energy. You can try to minimize distractions, but as someone who I am focusing on, let's go through with what I'm focusing on. I have OBS to make sure I'm not dropping frames. I have my show notes that gives me everything I need to talk about with kind of explanations of what I want to say. I've got my YouTube analytics open so I can make sure that, everything's going well there. I've got chat open that I'm monitoring, and I have Switchboard open to make sure that I'm not dropping any frames. I also have command prompt open so I can make sure that if I am dropping it, if I can see if it is related to Spectrum or it is related to some other software, it is something that I need to, figure out. So, yeah. Minimize distractions. Not always the easiest thing, especially when you have, little robots making robot noises behind you. Mad Cat says Switchboard is working great today. Sweet, which tells me it was an OBS issue. Someone last week, and it sucks because I've been kind of like digging into Switchboard saying, look, it worked fine. I don't know why it's not working anymore. Somebody last week said everything past 29.0.0 of OBS has been a problem for streaming. So I am running 29.0.0. Last week I was running 29.0.2. So it might not actually be Switchboard. And if that's the case, then I need to work with them so that we can put out a bulletin to other members that use Switchboard that are using OBS to downgrade their OBS and not touch it. Because apparently that's what you need to do. Because sometimes that downgrade is actually an upgrade. So, amen to that. But yeah, the whole thing with minimize distractions. I can say that you should do it, knowing that I don't do a great job of it, knowing that it's difficult for all of us, knowing that it is complicated and tough and troublesome and problematic and honestly really stressful. So if you can't minimize distractions, you know what? Honestly, take it. Take that one and say, you know what? I'm just going to get distracted. It happens. But if you can put yourself into hyperfixation mode for a while, those distractions might be the break that you need to kind of reset that clock. So while minimizing distractions is good for time management with ADHD, it might not be something that you can functionally and realistically do. Suntroller Camper says, hello from Denmark. When have you last cleaned your working area? I don't need that kind of judgment today, and I don't think anybody else here does either. It has been a minute. In fact, I used there's a long cat plushie down there because we're working on a t-shirt with Victoria as a long cat, and I needed to show this is what the plushies look like, and it never made it back into my bedroom, so I don't have an answer. Amber bought that for me when she went out of town and I was sick. So it showed up, and they're hilarious because they come vacuum sealed. So the bag is like this big. You cut the bag open, it's like this. It's 700 millimeters long. Anyways, see? Distractions. I'm distracted. It's a distraction thing. But yeah, there's shit all over the place, and it sucks, but I need to take the time to do it. And right now, the amount of time to clean around here is extensive. So my hope is that we can look at moving the business relatively soon. I'm still working on the specifics of all of it. And if we can do that, then I don't actually need to clean. I need to move. And the process of moving necessitates cleaning. So, there's that. Getting support. We've talked about it. I've talked with therapists live here on the channel, right? Nick Anger is probably a good one to look for, but it's spelled Angers, but it's said Anger. Nick is a maker, has a maker wife, and is a therapist. So out of all the people that I know, Nick is pretty much one of the best people to, really talk about this kind of thing. And I like that. And talking with Nick, we talked about, what was it? What the hell did we talk about? Imposter syndrome. We talked about imposter syndrome. Might be good to bring Nick back on to talk about something else. because I think it might be time. But talking to a therapist is a great thing to do. And if you are in the United States and you're worried about cost, damn it, Grant, you're doing another ad read for a company that's not paying you. But I don't care. This one's nonprofit, so they can get the free ad read. OpenPath. Look up OpenPath. I think it's .org, but it might be .com. I'm not certain which one it is. But it is to find affordable therapy, affordable doctors, affordable whatever you need. OpenPath Collective is amazing. And if you are someone that is working on a limited budget, maybe you're a solopreneur who's not paying themselves and you're thinking, I don't need help with my day. You do. And if you don't take care of the ye old brain box up here, it's not going to take care of you either. So go see a damn therapist. Please. You deserve it. You got to take care of yourself, as says someone who didn't take care of himself. But look, do as I say, not as I do. Damn it. Delegation is a big thing to do as well. Thank you, Mad Cat. You know what? When we get one more comment, because the damn emojis get in the way, I am going to pin that message. So we're going to pin OpenPath Collective, because those of you that need it, I want you to get it. It's pinned. Grab that link. Enjoy. You're welcome. I want everybody who needs that kind of help or thinks they need that kind of help, or maybe might even be apprehensive about getting that help, to get it. There is one thing that you will never, well, there are a few things you'll never see me do, but there's one thing you will never see me do. I will never judge somebody else for going to get therapy. I will support them and do everything that I can to help them, because I think that everyone needs to talk to a therapist. And if you are a small business owner and you are not talking to a therapist, you need to talk to a therapist, period. And I will make that statement. You gotta talk to a therapist. I know only sit still in absolutes. I don't give a damn. That is one of those times where I will make an absolute statement, and I 100% mean it from the bottom of my heart. You got to take care of yourself. As a solopreneur, delegation is impossible, but it is one of the big things that you can do to help reduce your stress. Even if that is you bring in a 1099, independent contractor, whether you're getting some help on your website, so you grab somebody from Upwork that's got good reviews and is relatively affordable. Pay them to do it. Maybe you got a friend. Maybe you're in a Discord server with people that can help you, right? Like, I'm looking at putting better air conditioning in my garage so I can stream more often. So when it is 45 plus degrees centigrade in there, I don't die from just being in 45 degrees C and 100% ambient humidity. And little did I know, we've got like 4 certified AC technicians in our Patreon Discord. That is so cool to me that we have people like that are just in there, and they were giving us tips, and I love that. I love it. I really do. You never know the type of people that you are around unless you ask. Like, I tell the story, you can go way back into the history of this podcast. It's like episode 5? We're in like episode 150, which, by the way, when season 3 ends, which will end at 52, we're going to go to just numbers. We're not going to go to seasons anymore. We're going to go to just numbers. Because I think it's cooler to have just the numbers. But the seasons are 52 seasons long, or 52 episodes long, because it's 1 year. I'm just going to go to numbers for the episodes because it's way cooler to have bigger numbers. But yeah, I got distracted. I distracted myself. Damn it. Yeah, go back to the earlier episodes and you'll hear from Thomas. Thomas is related to Tad. Tad is one of our lead engineers. Tad did not tell me about Thomas for like 2.5 years because I had never asked Tad if he knew anybody with graphic design skills. And Thomas helped us rebrand 3D Musketeers to what you see it today. The intro to the video where the part is printing, Thomas made that years ago, and we've used it in every video since he made it. We got someone in that helped us get from where we are to where we want to be. I delegated that work because I'm not the right person to do it. I don't have the skills. So I delegated it to someone who could. And while I am thankful in that I was able to afford it, we paid Thomas, you might not have that availability. And if that's the case, then you might need to slow down. And I know you say, well, I can't slow down. I got all this work to do. I have to get all of it done. Stop. Take a breath. It's going to be okay. You can do this. I have faith. But you have to have faith that you can do it too. So slow down, shut up, and take a breath. Because a lot of times, just taking that breath and just letting that anxiety find its way out will be great. Right? As one of my therapists says, you breathe in the spirit of the universe and breathe out Hitler and hate. It's a great statement. But it's true. Just take a deep breath. It'll be fine. You can get through it. It might take you a little bit more time than you need. That's okay. You can do it. And part of that is learning to say no. You gotta start saying no to shit. Makers, stop saying yes to every project. You might enjoy the projects, but you're not going to enjoy it when it's in the 9th hour and you don't know what to do and you're freaking out because once again, you overextended yourself. I am not talking to myself right now. Nope, not talking to myself. Nope, I would never do that. You gotta learn to say no. I talked about this a few weeks back where we discussed the future of 3D Musketeers and that we are going to be saying no way more often. Way more often. Because certain jobs are just not worth it. They're just not worth it. So don't do it. I don't care that it's 10 grand. If it's 10 grand and it's going to be, 5 or 6 130-hour work weeks plus, it's not worth it. You can literally go get a day job and make close to that same money with benefits in less, it'll take you more time, but in the same amount of hours, right? When you figure that each 120-hour work week that you work as an entrepreneur is 3 weeks for the average person, and you realize that if this product is going to take a month of 120-hour work weeks, that is actually 3 months for the average, worker, that money might not make sense anymore. Because per hour, you can go get a day job and make more money doing it. And while I recognize that you can make that money and you are capable of it, that is not a project where the client is valuing your time, nor are you. Because remember, if all you're doing is working, you're neglecting everything else around you, right? When was the last time you did your laundry? When was the last time you cleaned your dishes? When was the last time you had a sip of water? Damn it. There is a process. And a lot of that starts with knowing how to say no. And realistically, all of that comes down to being mindful. Keep an eye on yourself. It is common that we care a lot more about others than we do of ourselves because, well, we're kind of hard on ourselves and it sucks. I am like that, right? I have a hard time saying no, and because of that, I end up getting myself into real bad situations, and transversely, it affects our team. So I need to do a better job. I am doing a better job, but I can still do better. Part of that is being mindful of yourself. If you're not practicing mindfulness, you're not operating to the best of your abilities, right? It can really improve your focus and reduce that impulsivity that is very common with ADHD. Deep breathing, meditation, and yoga are some of the most beneficial things that you can try. And yeah, all right, I get it. Meditation, when your brain is going a million miles a minute, is not exactly the easiest. And shutting off that brain is complicated, right? How many of you get tired, lay down in bed, and you're still up for another 2 hours? Because your brain is like, nah, bro, we ain't done yet. Those mindfulness things can absolutely help in really reining in that struggle that you go through. And ADHD or not, mindfulness is incredibly valuable. And you're never going to be an expert overnight. So start slow. We used to do a yoga thing when a buddy of mine lived relatively close. In fact, I used to take most of Thursdays off for a couple of years. And I would go work at a clock shop. And I'd put in some hours there. I'd help them out. I fixed some clocks of my own. And I would learn, right? It was a time for me to learn. And before you start like dissing on clocks, go spend some time with an actual master horologist. It's a clockmaker. And learn some of their techniques and tell me what you are doing is not absolutely amazing from a feat of engineering, right? Old clocks are just engineering pornography. It is truly an amazing feat what we can do with springs and gears and stuff. Fix Some Dude says, do clock shops ever pay time and a half? No, but they never seem to have enough time from what I can tell. The only thing, if you have sensory issues, clock shops are not good. Because especially if they have like cuckoo clocks, they're never all to the exact same time. So like for 15 minutes every hour, there's always freaking noise going on. And maybe that is your call to take a break. But me personally, it was like a second family, right? And yes, if any of you are steampunk junkies and you need like gears and stuff for cosplay, just email me. I will be more than happy to send you boxes of gears. Technically, they're called wheels, but I will send you boxes. Whatever you tell me what you're looking for, and I am sure the shop that I moonlight at has pounds of it laying around. But yes, watches and clocks are super cool. It is a hobby of mine. In fact, I look at it because I have it on my computer. My first ever clock ticket. It was from April 5th of 2018. And it just says, it's got my name and my address on it. And it says, going to rebuild himself. I had a friend who worked there. I didn't know who he was, but he knew me. And he said, you're not going to pay. You're going to learn. And yeah, it was pretty cool. That was kind of history for me. So I keep that on my computer next to my sheet of Mr. Rogers stamps because welcome to the neighborhood. Forced Indentured Servant. That's a terrible name. Says tourbillons are really fun to 3D print. They are. They're not very accurate. And I have had the absolute pleasure of seeing, properly manufactured tourbillons before, and they are amazing. My French sucks, so I'm sorry if I screw that up. But for me, that was part of my mindfulness. And after the day at the clock shop, I would go to my buddy's place and we would do yoga. We called it our stretch and bitch because we would just kind of complain about our days, our weeks, whatever, and we would just do some basic stretching. And we just put on free YouTube videos, right? There was always, and I forget the name of the channel, but there was a lady that always had a dog, and that's great. There's the dog was in the background. It was awesome. That was what we always watched. Then we would always either cook or we would go out and get some dinner someplace a little bit different. We would try random hole in the wall places. And that was like, a mindful day for me where I would take some time for myself, and haven't done that much. And I should probably look at doing it, but it's because I had meetings every single week in that area. So I would take the rest of the day. I scheduled that day. Scheduling that meant that I could take the time for myself. I don't schedule that time much anymore because I spend a lot of that time doing YouTube stuff now. It's a little different, but kind of same. Being mindful is a challenge. you really got to think about the aspects surrounding you and how you can better implement them, and then have some time for you. I know it's not always possible in the beginning, especially when you're just starting. It's not easy. But if you work toward it, you can get to a point where you're feeling a lot better. While you might still be working 100-hour work weeks, taking that time for yourself can make all the difference between just piling on the stress to starting with a much lower stress level every week. So the stress that is added is mostly released. And while that might build up over time, it's going to build up a lot slower than if you didn't just care for yourself at all. Be mindful, please. Sun Total Camper asks if I have a wristwatch. I have some pocket watches. None of them work, to be clear. I bought them broken, and I wanted to fix them. When we were in Colorado, I bought a couple of alarm clocks that have radium. They're radium, and I love old radium clocks. Obviously a little dangerous because they are radioactive, but, you know, don't rub it in an open wound and you're pretty much fine. The glass is leaded, so it's fine. But unfortunately, I couldn't find anybody in Colorado that had a Geiger counter so we could verify. I'm fairly certain they're radium because they're speckled, which normally means it's radium. But yeah, I love old clocks. It's just a cool thing. Like my favorite, and it's unfortunately it's under my desk because I do have to rebuild it, is a jeweled. It's a jeweled escapement and Sonia crystal regulator. So if you're a clock person, you can look it up. Sun Total Camper says, don't take them apart. It is fine if you are very careful and you know what you're doing. Thankfully for clocks with radium, often the radium is staying inside of metal and glass and you're pulling the movement out of the back. So there's no issue of contamination. But if you do risk it for some reason, there are masks and filters that you can wear to deal with it. And as long as you don't have any open wounds and that kind of thing, you'll generally be okay. There are processes and procedures to take to minimize exposure, basically. So, yeah. But yeah, look up the Radium Girls if you want to learn about really weird ways that radiation has made it into our lives. The Radium Girls, probably one of the best stories about it. I can go into it, but that's ADHDing off of the topic of this podcast. That was my way of being mindful. And while I used to go dancing every Sunday, it's how Amber and I actually met. We met dancing. A lot of that stopped when I got injured because traveling was complicated. Dancing was impossible. In fact, if you are, there's a little bit of it in the video. In the tour of Printed Solid from the East Coast Rap Festival, there is like a 2 or 3 second piece of Amber and I dancing. The Patreon members got the entire dance. Also, the music is fake for the video because it's copywritten. But the Patreon members got the full dance and a way more in-depth tour. But they got the full dance. That was the first time that I had really danced since my back injury, and actually one of the last times that I've danced as well. Things I'd like to get back into doing, but I am afraid that I'm going to hurt myself. Chronic pain really adds a extra problem to time management. And if you better understand how your chronic pain affects you, you can help yourself out. Something for me, I have lower back injury. For those that don't know, I have herniated L4, L5, L5S1. It is a bilateral disc herniation with marketed nerve impingement north of 6 millimeter herniation. It's nowhere near as bad as it could be, but it is enough that my legs are way more numb than they were prior to my injury. A good chair was something that I spent a long time finding. Started with one of those crappy IKEA chairs that they work, but for only so long. I then went up to a Steelcase Leap V2 bought on the gray market. Not a bad chair. Used it for a while. We ended up finding a 21-year-old Herman Miller Aaron. 21 years old. It was definitely from a drug house. It was amazing. And I guess the Herman Miller god shined upon me. And randomly, while doing garage sailing, we found 5 Herman Miller Aaron desk chairs made in 2018 for $100 a piece. Yeah. For those of you that don't know, those are $1,600 desk chairs, and I am in one of them right now. If you do have back pain, take some time, go to a used office furniture store. There it is. A used office furniture store. Not because you're going to buy a chair from them. I often find that like buying an Aaron off of Craigslist or Facebook or whatever your version of that is a better move. But you can go to the used furniture store and test out the chairs, right? Because you're not going to likely be able to afford to buy a new one. You can test them out after somebody else has broken them in. Because a chair that has not been broken in versus one that is a completely different experience. And the Aaron is amazing. They are a little expensive. As Papa Bear AZ says, $400 to $600 on average used. Which is why I fit 3 in a 2-door Honda. And the seller was so nice. He had a meeting that he had to get to. He put the other 2 in the back of his SUV and he followed me back to my house. The dude was so nice. I did try to haggle with him. I said, I want all 5. I said, what will you give me a deal on all 5? He said, I will give you a deal. I'll make it $500 for the 5. I said, but that's full price. He said, you and I both know what you're getting. I said, look, you can't hate me for trying. He said, no, I don't hate you for trying. You're getting a steal. And I said, I know I'm getting a steal. So here's your cash. I was lucky and I had the cash on me at the time. And now everybody in my family has a awesome Herman Miller Aaron desk chair. That is the story of how I came upon 5 Aarons for $500. And you might get lucky, you might not, but they carry 12-year warranties. Find something that fits well for you. It was, that was a blessing for me, for sure. And dealing with that chronic pain is one of the hardest things because you know you're going to make mistakes and you're going to get hurt. You know you're going to lose days. I lose hours every single day to productivity. Every single day I lose productivity hours because of my back pain, right? I will get out of my chair and I'll realize I can't feel my legs. And I got to quickly grab onto the shelving. So I have industrial racking. I can grab onto it and I can put all my weight on it and it's not going to break, right? It's not going to fall. It's not going to move. It's fine. I have to be careful with that stuff where the average person doesn't. The average person can deal with a, racing gaming chair, right? I can't. It won't work. Although I have real racing seats, those are comfy as hell. But I'm right on the edge of being a little too portly to fit in that chair. And then I would have had to build a chair base and all that. It wasn't worth it. The Aaron was absolutely worth it. But a good desk chair can go a long way into making you more productive. If you're always fidgeting because you're uncomfortable and you're always moving, being uncomfortable means you're less productive. I recognize that spending a bunch of money on a good desk chair is hard. It's really hard. But just like spending good money on a good bed, the 2 places you spend most of your time at, especially if you're an office worker, is your bed and your desk chair. Spend decent money. If you're going to go spend $40,000 on a car, go spend $35,000 on a car, get a good bed and a good chair, and you're still going to have money left over. If you're going to only spend like $1,000 on a car like I do, it's a little different. But if you are the person that drives a decent car, you can't make an excuse to me that, oh, you don't have a good desk chair. You can get a good desk chair. The other thing, for me, lighting. The lighting that you guys see is fake. You can tell the sun's behind me. That is real. So that there are 2 windows behind me. There's one over there, and there's one back here. That's real light. The light that's in front of me is all fake. In fact, I can turn it off. This is what it actually looks like for me sitting at my desk. I've got top lighting because there's, you know, fans and that kind of stuff. But, you know, when I turn on, please. Thank you. But when I'm sitting at my desk, I use artificial light. Um, I've done a good job at really getting that light to be like somewhat of the sun, but just way dimmer, you know, where it's usable for me. The nice thing is it also works good for filming, so it looks great. My entire lighting setup is less than $100. They're Philips Easy Connect, addressable RGB screw-in light bulbs. They're $13 a piece. I use clamp-on lights to clamp to the shelf above me. They're the clamp-on work lights. And then around the bulb, I have an 8-inch paper lantern. Works great. And it provides me with reasonably high CRI light that helps me better stay focused, because this top light doesn't do anything for me at all. Sunshine Camper says, get a bicycle. Exercise is very important. I have a bicycle. In fact, I used to ride a bike all the time. With my back the way that it is, and with my propensity to hurt myself on a bicycle, because I do dumb crap on bicycles, I've kind of said no. And previous to the communities opening up around me, there were no places to ride. There are no sidewalks, and all the streets around me were previously 55 miles an hour. Now they've added a crap load of roundabouts. They're down to like 40, but that doesn't stop people from street racing up and down the roads. So that is not always an option, right? Sun Turtle Camper says, if new to biking, get an e-bike. There are no places around me to go. Like, up before, prior to these two big communities opening up near where I live, it was a 15-mile car ride to the closest grocery store, and nothing delivered to where I lived. Now I've got like 5 Publixes within a 10-mile radius, which is just insane. And while, yes, it is not a good idea to ride a bike with herniated discs, trust forced indentured servant, he knows, or they know, swimming is better. I don't have a pool. And while I can just go dig a hole in my backyard, it will fill with water because it is Florida. It will likely also have an alligator in it because it is Florida. That is how it works. That's Florida law, right? If you have a body of water, it must have an alligator in it. It's Florida law. Promise. There are weirder laws here, okay? There are weirder laws. Some physical exercise is great. And if you are someone that deals with chronic pain, you might not be able to do that. That's okay. It's okay. Yeah, you're a little broken. So am I. It sucks. You know what you can do? When you go out grocery shopping, park far away from the store. Take an extra lap. You know, take an extra lap. You go into a few stores that are relatively close, park in the middle. Walk to all of them. Right? Oh, you want to get a little arm workout? Great. You're a one-trip pony. You are not using a cart. You're putting those bags in your hand, and you're doing curls as you're walking to the car. There are so many options that you can do that are just a slight deviation from your regular routine that can add a little bit of physical exercise, right? When I was real bad, when I was walking with a cane, when I could barely feel my legs, one of the things that I did to help me get a little bit of physical exercise was I would get a shopping cart and I would press into it, right? So I would do a shoulder press into the shopping cart, which is effectively decompressing my spine, right? So I'm like locking my shoulders and I'm pushing up to remove some of the weight. So I'm taking the weight on my arms and shoulders from my back, and then I could move my feet to kind of kick the cart around. It was not the most elegant or most graceful thing, but it allowed me to get some physical exercise without needing to use my cane. I could put the cane in the cart and be able to decompress my back as I moved around. And God, that was like the only way that I felt even reasonably comfortable. Oh, I forgot to send my tweet that I was live. I guess we can just discard that tweet. But yeah, there are ways. You just have to be willing to do it, right? And it might seem very daunting. It might seem problematic. It might seem complicated. It might seem stressful. It might seem like all of those things are just weighing upon you. Writing everything down that stops you from doing something is a great way to determine how menial some of those things actually are. I recognize that time management is something that is different for everybody. And I speak a lot to makers themselves because, well, a lot of us are neurodivergent. It's why the Sanjay One Foundation exists. It is to focus on those that are neurodivergent and help them help themselves. I want you to know that you're not alone. If you're struggling with time management, I want you to know you're not alone. Heck, I think our entire Discord struggles with it. We have an entire channel in our Discord dedicated to neurodivergence, where it's just like worldly problems, right? And let's talk about it. Life is complicated, especially when you're looking to go into business for yourself. Things are not what you expect, especially when you're going into business for yourself. And days can be chaotic and unpredictable, especially when there are modifiers that make it worse. That doesn't mean that just going with the flow is always the right option. Some days you gotta just go with the flow. But other days you can prioritize, you can set goals, you can create schedules by blocking out time to do things. You can look at doing, as few things at once. Keep your multitasking down. Delegation if you can. Saying no when it matters. And of course, being mindful to yourself. I'm sure there's more to it, and I am by far not an expert on this. In fact, I think I've talked a lot about my struggles with time management and where I'm not necessarily the best. But given somebody supported this channel because of the ADHD, it felt like the perfect thing to talk about this week. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this chat. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. But stay safe out there. Don't forget to call your loved ones. And as always, keep making awesome. Season 3, episode 43. We're coming up on 3 freaking years. Time management. You got this. I got faith in you. Leave a like. Get subscribed. Support if you want. Take care.